Hey everybody, Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com here, back doing another 6222 Swiss draft. All right, well, last I had a video up. I was doing pretty bad, and I actually went down a pretty bad streak of losses in Swiss. I believe I lost 6 in a row. I went 1-2 in 6 drafts in a row, which is a new record low for me. I don't think I've ever gone that bad. So people on stream got to see me get pretty crazy. Not like really crazy, but I was pretty upset about it. I'll talk about it more. Let's decide on the pick first. Lots to discuss. Let's see. Geist of the Archives. I like the Lashweed Lurker, the Weaver of Lightning. Tons of directions to go. Weaver is pretty awesome and is part of my favorite archetype. But then again, so is Geist. I think we are going to go Weaver. This card just melts things. Wretched Griff is also really good. I ended up breaking the streak. It was all good. I had a bottle of wine. I got it all figured out, all squared away. And got a couple wins under my belt. So I thought it was just me, but then I tuned into Travis's stream, and he was saying the same thing. He's having troubles with this format. So that in itself is pretty interesting. What exactly is our problem with this format? Now, I think Travis and I are both used to high value pick drafting, right? Like high value pick, prioritize, removal, over creature. It seemed like that wasn't working for us. And it could have just been coincidental that we both were just sort of failing at the format early on. But we both seem to find that it's kind of a bomb-centric format. So bombs are always kind of, game deciders, but this seems to be a little bit more format defining. We're just going to follow up with another Weaver of Lightning. My favorite archetype right now is still the blue-red. I know Brazen Wolves is really strong. So what I'm getting at is we're trying to discover the essence of this format, why this format is the way it is, what direction you were supposed to go most of the time, and that does take time. And it's tough sometimes to know whether you're going down the right path or where you're going down the wrong path, because there is an RNG element to this game, right? Like a lot of times, everybody I know gets a little bit flustered when they get mana screwed or when they get mana flooded, but I'm trying to come up with a healthy way to think about that, to think about why that's not a big deal. And the closest I can come up to, I came up with this one today. Think of it like you're playing Dungeons and Dragons and you're rolling a 20-sided dice and you roll like an 11 or something like that a few times in a row. And it's a miss. And your opponent's rolling a 19 or a 20. And they're hitting, obviously. So think of it that way. I think that's actually like a safe way to sort of think about why certain bad things happen. The random element of this game is such that you have to think of it in a way that's healthy, which is it's random. What's more healthy than that? It wasn't your decision that made it bad. I think that might be a problem too. It's easy to blame yourself. I at least have that as a big problem. You end up blaming yourself when, and sometimes it is legitimate your fault, but when it's just an RNG thing, don't spiral down that path. Because also think about it this way. If you don't get mana screwed or mana flooded, but you still get crushed, it could be that your opponent just rolled really high. This is a tough pick. I actually don't know what the pick is. I think we're going to take the Ride Down because it works well with the Weaver of Lightnings because it's a spell. But also, it might just be the strongest card in that pack. That was kind of a tough one. I wasn't sure. So here we can take the Mercurial Geists, which are very good in the Weaver of Lightning spells deck. I could have taken, I guess, Make Mischief, which is a lot worse than Ride Down, but is actually proven itself to be a pretty good card. Or we're going to take the Insatiable Gorgers, which is a good beater. I think I'm going to take Mercurial Geists and hope they pan out. I do like the blue-red spells deck a lot. I've said that a few times. It's very fun in this format. And the only reason I took Brazen Wolves is because it's just a really strong card. So I guess Displace technically does work pretty well with Weaver of Lightning. Since even if they're tapped, you can untap them and still trigger their ability to kill something. It's pretty good, actually. So we could try out Displace. It's only up to 2, so... Otherwise, we're taking a Reaver, which I don't think is great for this deck. I can't imagine Displace is great for this deck either. Could also take the Field Creeper, which is good for Delirium, but we don't have any Delirium currently. Gavony Unhallowed is probably just the strongest card in this pack. And Geist of the Lonely Vigil is decent, but not really working with the ride down. I think we'll take the Unhallowed. I don't really care about any of the other cards. And oh, I found Black is pretty wildly unpopular at the moment. Enlightened Maniac this late is pretty interesting. That's a good card. Works really well with Emerge, which is a very, very powerful mechanic. So a couple good white cards in here remaining as well. Another Field Creeper. We'll take the Maniac. This card's good. All right, you know what? Take Inventory. Actually a pretty legitimate strategy. We might just want the Borrowed Hostility over it. We could take the Take Inventory. Apparently this card has been working well for people. I've gotten crushed by it a couple times. Borrowed Hostility is very good, though. It's tough to overlook the value of Borrowed Hostility in a double Weaver of Lightning deck. With Mercurial Geist, too. Yeah, I think Borrowed Hostility... I mean, that's a little bit tough. It's a little bit tough because you have to prioritize Take Inventory high if you want to go down that route. I can't recall seeing a bunch of them, though. That might be the first one we've seen. Ooh. Well, here's a Lashweed Lurker Wheeling, which is pretty insane. So I guess we'll take that. It's hard to splash colors if you're not in green, but... there's no other pick for us, so we'll definitely take it. All right, we'll take the Make Mischief now. Very good with the Weavers. Guess we'll just cut the red card. I think we'll just continue to cut red. I mean, that's a very late Faithbearer Paladin. Guess we'll take it. All right, we'll take Terrarian. It allows you to splash. Cut the blue card. Okay. So, not a bad start. Like I said, it is going to take some time, obviously. And I had that terrible, terrible streak of losses. So, it definitely was putting some things into perspective. It really tests your mental strength, which I always commend Travis for. He has a lot of mental strength when it comes to losing. And gracefully losing is such a difficult thing for me, and I know other Magic players encounter it as well. It's very difficult to gracefully lose when you play as often as I do. So we have a chance at a second Brazen Wolves, or we can take the Drag Under. Brazen Wolves, like I said, just beats. It just beats. Drag Under is got to be phenomenal with the Weavers. I know for a fact Brazen Wolves is just a great card. Just beats down so efficiently. Drag Under, like I said, works really well with the Weavers and the Mercurial Geist. So I kind of want to take it here. It's a tough choice. Feels like if I'm in blue-red, you really can't have enough Drag Unders. So I guess we'll take it over the Brazen Wolves. Only because I guess we already have a Brazen Wolves. And I think we're pretty likely to wheel to Make Mischief for the Convolute, so that seems fine to me too. Okay, there's our Thermo Alchemist. There's also a Drownyard Behemoth in here. Both of these cards are really good. Drownyard Behemoth has just been amazing. I almost think the Behemoth might be better than the Alchemist. Even in blue-red, I really do think this card is that good. I think it's good enough where I'm going to take it over the Alchemist. I really do think this card is phenomenal. You end up usually paying about 5 mana for a 5/7 that kills something and then continues to beat down and kill your opponent. It's insane. Even though Thermo Alchemist is kind of a staple of this deck, still going to take the Behemoth. Okay. So another Mercurial Geist. Got Sombrold Stag, Alchemist Greeting. Removal is currently basically non-existent, but I still think I might want the second Mercurial Geist. We can find some more spells later, I'm hoping. Alright, we can get the Greeting now, or we can take the Scour the Laboratory. I think we probably want the Greeting. I like Scour the Laboratory, but I want some removal. We might be able to find a way to madness it out, I'm hoping. Alright, so now we have a Gorger or a Fogwalker. I think we take the Gorger. It's a very good beater. Obviously, we're going to have to lower this curve at some point, but I am down on Fogwalker. I don't think it's a bad card, but it's not as good as I initially thought it was. That's a late Extricator. Just in case, I'll take the Impaler. Definitely would prefer to not play it, but I'm just not doing much early right now. And we should cut red. I could just hate the Extricator, I guess, or maybe splash for it. Seems like a pretty awkward splash. All right, we'll take Extricator, I guess. All right, well, Fury Blade Vampire is actually pretty good, seeing as it's a 2-drop that can let us cheat out an Insatiable Gorger or a Greeting. Probably just take it over the Make Mischief. All right, well, we can take Displace now. I mean, it still does actually work with Mercurial Geist. It protects from some removal. Otherwise, I am taking the Impaler. I guess we'll take a Displace. I've had it played against me. It's actually okay. I'm going to take a second Make Mischief over the first Convolute, I think. Convolute is okay, but you don't really want reactive things like Convolute when you're running Mercurial Geist. I mean, it still kind of works, but not really. You'd much prefer something that can kill something, especially with the Weavers, and then pump your team as well. So I think we can get away with multiple Make Mischiefs in here. Well, I don't think one take inventory is what we want, but I guess it does actually generate more card advantage than Contingency Plan does. So don't really think that we need Mausoleum Wanderer. Guess we can take the Contingency Plan. Not a card I like particularly, but I have had it played against me a few times, and it does more than you expect it to. So I'm a little more up on Turn-Aside in decks like this. I've had it main decked against me, and it does come up big. It probably is better than Otherworldly Outburst for that reason. Protects our key cards, Mercurial Geist and Weaver. Even Drownyard Behemoth after it's been out for a turn. Not exactly sure if this whole Lashweed Lurker thing is going to work out. Alright, well, guess I wish I'd taken the Otherworldly Outburst now if I'd known I was going to get a second Turn-Aside, because main decking 2 of them seems a bit excessive. Guess we'll take the Shield. Probably don't need to play it, though. Alright, pack 3. So we have Altered Ego, which gives us more incentive to splash green. It's pretty good. There's Sleep Paralysis, which is hard removal, but does not really work with our Weavers nor our Mercurial Geist, but it is hard removal. Altered Ego seems like really powerful card, and like I said, because we already have the Lurker, we probably can wheel the landscape too. It seems like this deck needs more going on for it, especially bomb wise, so why don't we just take the Ego? Well, it seems like a good time to pick up a Scholar. We'll take it over the Niblis. Scholar's pretty strong card. Got a couple madness effects, but Possibly can find more. Traverse does not seem like a card you can splash for all that easily. Ooh, well, Tameo's Journal is very good. Lets you draw cards. There's Pour Over the Pages, which also lets you draw cards and triggers Mercurial Geists and Weavers, but we might just want the Journal. Lets you find any card too, which I think is pretty valuable. I like the Dual Shot a lot. I mean, I guess, can this deck stabilize? I mean, it can. We have a couple Weavers, but I don't know how easily this deck can stabilize. It might. I mean, the card advantage you get long-term out of Tameo's Journal is pretty insane. So if you can stabilize a board, it's a phenomenal card to have. I think we're going to take it. I don't know how greedy this pick is. I guess we're going to find out. Okay, so let's probably cut the shield for now. We can take the Reduce to Ashes. It's another 5-drop. But we probably don't need the Stormrider Spirits or Deny Existence so much. I mean, Reduce is going to be some hard removal, so I guess we'll take it. Alright, Woodland Stream's a huge pickup for us. Helps our mana base tremendously. Broken Concentration would be fine too, but we'll take the Woodland Stream. Okay, Uncaged Fury on a Mercurial Geist with Borrowed Hostility can just be game. We don't need double turn aside anyway. This is definitely looking like at least a 17 land deck. Probably don't need the Displace. Alright, so we can take Scrutiny or Rush here too. Rush with Geist is going to be good. Scrutiny is going to be really good too, though. I think Rush with Uncaged Fury or Hostility with Uncaged Fury, though, is pretty insane. On a Behemoth too, or a Lurker. Let's go Rush. Let's get that Trample. I mean, it's a combat trick too. Invasive Surgery. Well, that's more of a sideboard card. Not the sexiest looking curve I've ever seen on a deck, I admit. I don't know if we want a Village Messenger for this deck. I don't want to get beaten down by it either. I guess we can take a Surgery for sideboard against pesky sorceries. Alright, got the Landscape. Otherwise, I can take the Kindred. We have 14 creatures if you include the Make Mischiefs. We could actually make this guy indestructible, theoretically, in this deck, though, with the Woodland Stream, and I assume we're going to be playing a Forest. 2 forests should be enough for Ego and Lurker. I don't know if we need the Landscape for that reason. We don't really need Delirium. Might be just a bit too slow. We'll take the Kindred, actually. Like, we already have Terrarian, too, which we might actually play in this deck. Like, between Terrarian, Woodland Stream, and 1 Forest, I think we're fine. I think this deck is just falling victim to an ugly curve. I don't care about any of these cards. We'll take Deny Existence. Pieces. Probably don't need it. What have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, it's enough to play it. I don't know if we want it, though. Might just rather hate a Confront. Might actually need this Homunculus. All right. All right, so obviously we have to make some cuts here. Not exactly sure if I want to do 18 lands. I mean, there's a few pros to this deck, but there's definitely some cons. I mean, we have some decent removal. The con is basically just we don't have a lot of early game going for us, which is definitely a problem. I think we cut the contingency plan. Let's see here. Maybe we don't main deck turn aside. I like having the protection, but might not be necessary. How many spells does that still leave us with? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many instant sorceries? I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, I probably shouldn't go lower than 9. So we can probably cut a creature at least. Might just be the homunculus. Homunculus really isn't that good anyway. And then maybe we cut the deny existence, but I mean, the fact that I have no need for delirium kind of makes me want to cut the Terrarian, but I mean, Terrarian draws you a card in a pinch too, which can be nice. Deny existence can definitely be valuable. But once again, like the reactive sort of stuff alongside Mercurial Geist is not good, especially one that can really only counter something on your opponent's turn. So for that reason, I kind of want to cut it. And that leaves us with only 8 instants or sorceries, which is not a ton, but it's like the bare minimum I think you should be okay with in a deck that's supposed to be pretty spell heavy. So we can still definitely win on the back of Behemoth or Lurker or Gorger or the Geist with just a spell or two, or the Ego. So this deck has enough ways to win in the late game, but just not having a lot of early game is definitely a problem. And like I said, our curve is a bit high. It's not like an insanely high. I mean, we don't have anything higher than 5. Well, I'm not counting these higher than 5. I mean, technically, this is basically a 4 in our deck because we basically just have a bunch of 3-drop creatures that we're going to have to end up sacking to it. I could just cut the Terrarian, actually, and run 18 lands and probably be fine. We've got a Scholar. I wish we had more. Well, we have the Journal, too, for card draw. Yeah, that might have to be good enough. It's just basically I don't love Terrarian in this deck so much. And I'd rather just hit land drops than use Terrarian once. Like, I can pretty comfortably run Woodland Stream and probably even a couple forests. And go like this. And this is 7 blue, 3 green. Yeah, and we're just super light on blue anyway. So we have more than enough red. I guess these are blue too, and green. So the only problem is if we have like Woodland Stream but no other blue source. If we have Woodland Stream and any other blue source, we're good. Or if we have Woodland Stream and the forest, we're good too, so. And 9 red sources seems like it's more than enough. All right. Yeah, I mean, this deck's okay. I don't think it's fantastic. But Tamiyo's Journal, like I said, can give a lot of card draw in the late game. And Weavers can block and clean up on some early dudes. We have some combat tricks. So there's some pros and cons to this deck, but we'll see how we do. I would just wish we had more early game going on. It's a bit of a problem that we don't, but this is what we ended up with, so we'll have to run it like this. All right. We'll see you round 1.